I'm passionate about working with people with special needs, as Gary said, and I'm also passionate about providing opportunities for young people in our community to get involved in all that our community has to offer. I do this with an incredible group of young Jewish leaders, and we provide incredible opportunities for people with special needs and their families, and we're shifting the mindset of the community towards people with a disability. We champion tolerance, acceptance and respect. We champion equal opportunities for independence, success, love and employment. And above all, we champion the idea that inclusion is a human right. These are values that I've held to be true since I fell into the disability services sector after school. I got a call from a parent who had a kid with autism who said, "I heard you play soccer, we need someone to have a kick with our son." And not knowing anything about autism, I got involved and I ended up working with him for a couple of days a week for more than 2 years. I was fortunate enough to also accompany him on a trip to Israel with 10 other young adults with special needs. That's Maddie in the middle. And I learned that working with people with special needs is first and foremost about supporting people to be included and to experience the same opportunities as everyone else. At the same time, I was going through my youth movement hubbo, gaining confidence in my own abilities and being empowered to take ownership over the things that I'm passionate about. So in 2013, I headed up to Sydney and volunteered on a camp for kids with special needs called Camp Sababa. And based off of the Camp Sababa Sydney model, a year later we brought Camp Sababa Melbourne to Melbourne. We run respite camps for children with special needs and training programs for young adults to work in disability services. Last month, we also ran our very first respite camp for siblings. We've also recently kicked off the Best Bunch. Whoops, that's our, there we go. Whoops. We've also recently kicked off the Best Bunch, a social enterprise flower business that provides an employment opportunity for people with special needs. Where'd you guys get the flowers from? The plan is that the social enterprise will contribute to the funding of Camp Sababa. We're also passionate about providing opportunities for people with special needs, and I believe that our team has a solid foundation to have has laid a solid foundation to have a huge impact in this area. This is Elad on the right. Elad has autism. He's quirky and fun. He pretty much only eats English chicken nuggets and rice crackers. He's non-verbal. He's got real trouble communicating overall. His mum is a single parent and she desperately needs a break. She's so protective though and can't really let him go that easily. So one day we rocked up at her house, 23-year-old me, and tried to convince a mother to let go of her son for the first time in his life and to put him into our care for 3 nights. And part of the process was introducing him to some of our volunteers before camp, and this is Sophie on the left, one of his buddies. One day we took him swimming, and not that day, and he got in the pool and he screamed at the top of his lungs. His face got a bit wet and he screamed. We tried to dry it and he screamed. We moved closer to him, he screamed. We moved further away, he screamed at the top of his lungs. And Sophie and Matani had no idea what to do. It was just as much an eye-opening experience for them as it was for me. After an extensive process of getting to know Elad, he came on camp a few weeks later. And this is him on camp, comfortable, happy, swimming, not screaming, with his buddy Sophie. We have a great relationship with Elad and his family, and now a few volunteers from camp see Elad once every 2 weeks. Society's inability to accommodate and provide opportunities for people with special needs gives them the label of having a disability. It's not their problem, it's ours. Elad is able to thrive when he's provided with the right environment. The late Stella Young, an inspirational disability advocate, said, "My disability exists not because I have a wheelchair, but because the broader environment isn't accessible." We're laying the foundations for a systemic shift in the mindset of our community towards inclusion for people with special needs. This year we have 90 volunteers, which was the picture before. Sorry. We have 90 volunteers. These are some of them at training. They've put their hands up to undertake an extensive disability training program to support our campers on the summer camps and then hopefully work in disability services from now on. Every single one of the volunteers that goes through Camp Sababa will have a life-changing experience. It will shift their attitudes towards people with special needs, and it will shift their behaviour to ensure that they're more likely to support, accommodate and include people with special needs throughout their lives. We're working to create a world where no one feels like they're on the fringe, and unfortunately the current reality is far from that. Many families who have children with special needs in our community feel unsupported, excluded and even stigmatised. Many children go to a special school because our Jewish schools can't accommodate for them. Even in a thriving Jewish community that owns and operates hundreds of businesses, adults with a disability still can't get a job and as a result don't have a legitimate reason to wake up in the morning. Don't feel like they have that reason. We must ensure that everyone feels as though they're part of society and can experience all of the same opportunities. We can facilitate that within our community, or we can fight for the value of inclusion to be upheld by all communities and for all people. And these are goals that both Stand Up and Camp Sababa share. This is not just a belief or a dream, it's achievable, and more importantly, it's also unequivocally necessary if we wish to say that we live in a just society. There's a fundamental principle of a just society that people are able to participate and to feel included. Inclusion is a human right, and to ever say, in a community as prosperous as ours, that people are or feel excluded is absolutely unacceptable. Throughout my time doing this work, I've also spent a little bit of time being bored out of my mind going through my commerce degree. The best lesson that I learned was in a random management subject, when we learnt about servant leadership as a leadership style that's employed when you put the people that you serve above all else. Through elevating the people that you're working to support, you're kept grounded, on task, and your ego is kept out of the picture. Edgar Guest penned a poem called Compensation that encompasses the way that I want to lead and the impact that I hope to have through my work. It goes, "I'd like to think when life is done that I had filled a needed post, that here and there I'd paid my fare with more than idle talk and boast, that I had taken gifts divine, the breath of life and manhood fine, and tried to use them now and then in service for my fellow men. I'd hate to think when life is through that I had lived my round of years, a useless kind that leaves behind no record in this vale of tears, that I had wasted all my days by treading only selfish ways, and that this world would be the same if it had never known my name. I'd like to think that here and there, when I am gone, there shall remain a happier spot that might have not existed had I toiled for gain, that someone's cheery voice and smile shall prove that I had been worthwhile, that I had paid with something fine my debt to God for life divine." And I'm getting the Young Humanitarian Award, so I've got a bit of time to work on all of this. But I want to change the world, and I think it's probably a good idea to get a head start. Sam Blaschke, in his essay, My Grandfather Ron Castan, writes that at the age of 7, he was taken on a light plane to visit a remote Aboriginal community. Even without knowing the rest of the story, there's already a profound lesson in that. That the exposure of a 7-year-old to a different culture and people can lead to some pretty life-changing experiences. All of my experiences with Ron's grandchildren are that they're passionate about doing good. To Sam and all of the cousins, I'm excited to see what we will achieve together throughout our lives, and I'm excited for you to share the lessons of your grandfather with me and for us together to uphold his legacy. We're never too young to start learning, questioning and helping, and of course giving this changing the world thing a go. We need to encourage all the other young leaders in our community to do the same. And there is a vast pool of young leaders who are passionate about doing good and living conscious and active Jewish lives. We need to tap into this pool of innovative young Jewish leaders, and we need to value their input more. We need more young people in leadership positions in our community, on boards, driving our community forward, not as the youth director of an organisation, but as a board member, the CEO or the president. Jan Owen, the CEO of the Foundation for Young Australians, echoes this, and she says that every person over the age of 40 should have a mentor under the age of 30. In order for the next generation of our community leaders to be engaged now, we need to develop more intergenerational conversations where each generation can learn from the other. The Nordia Foundation, 4S Foundation, Nikki Karp, Susie Karp, a lot of other people in this room have started these conversations along with myself and with Stand Up. I'm so grateful for the support that I've personally received from all of them throughout this journey. Only together can we create a community, an internal world, that upholds inclusion as a human right. And I'm excited to continue working with each of you to make this a reality.